At kasama natin ngayon para explain ang mga specific details ng mga na-approve na measures and projects. Kasama natin si NEDA Secretary R.C. Balisacan. Sir?
Thank you. In its first meeting under the administration of President Ferdinand E. Marcos Jr., the NEDA board endorsed the EO, or executive order, modifying tariff rates on certain electric vehicles or EVs, such as passenger cars, buses, minibuses, vans, trucks, motorcycles, tricycles, scooters, and bicycles, among others, including EV parts and components. In particular, the EO will temporarily reduce the most favored nation, or MFN, tariff rates to 0% for 5 years and completely built up, or CBU, units of certain EVs, except for hybrid type EVs. It will also implement tariff modification on certain parts and components of EVs from 5% to 1% for 5 years. The NEDA board also indicated that the tariff modifications shall be reviewed after 1 year of implementation with a view to assessing its impact on the development of the EV industry ecosystem. The EO aims to expand market sources and encourage consumers to consider acquiring EVs, improve energy security by reducing dependence on imported fuel, and promote the growth of the domestic EV industry ecosystem. Likewise, the NEDA board approved NEDA's guidelines on processing PPP, or public-private partnership, proposals. The new proposals or procedures aim to harmonize the review and approval of the NEDA board and the ICC, or the Investment Coordination Committee, including the preparation and submission of government agencies of PPP projects, with the joint evaluation of the NEDA Secretariat, the PPP Center, and the Department of Finance. The guidelines also include the updated list of documentary requirements for solicited and unsolicited proposals. The issuance of the guidelines is pursuant to Section 2.1 of the revised 2022 implementing rules and regulations of the Build, Operate, Transfer, or BOT law. Further, the NEDA board approved 1 new project funded through official development assistance, or ODA, and also changes on 5 ongoing projects. The Philippine Fisheries and Coastal Resiliency, or FISCO project of the Department of Agriculture, Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, costing 11.42 billion pesos, aims to improve the management of fishery resources and enhance the value of production of fisheries in select fisheries management areas. Also approved was the request of the Department of Transportation for utilization of savings, change in scope, and loan validity extension for the Maritime Safety Capability Improvement Project, Phase 1, as well as its request for 19-month loan validity extension for the new Communications, Navigation, Surveillance, or Air Traffic Management, or CNS, ATM, Systems Development Project. For the Department of Public Works and Highways, the NEDA board approved the request to extend by 12 months both the implementation period and the validity of the loan for the Samar Pacific Coastal Road Project, and the request for changes in scope of works, increase in cost, and reallocation of contingency costs to civic works, or civil works, category for the integrated disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation measures in low-lying areas of Pampanga Bay project. Likewise, the committee approved the request for change in scope for the Philippine Competition Commission capacity building to foster competition project. That's all. Thank you.
Question? From Ana Bajo of GMA News Online. May we get Palace reaction on this? The Philippines has made significant gains in reducing poverty, but income inequality remains, with the super rich capturing a substantial portion of the national income. According to multilateral lender World Bank said in its latest report, what will the government do to address the income inequality?
The 8-point socioeconomic agenda and the upcoming Philippine Development Plan, PDP 2023-2028, is intended to address the issues like that, and that is to accelerate poverty reduction while ensuring that the rapid growth that the plan envisages for the medium term will also be very inclusive. Inclusive meaning that the economic opportunities will not only for the upper income groups, but even more importantly for the lower and middle income groups. So it's everybody's boat is lifted by the rising tide, as they say, and that way, again, inequality will be reduced in a significant way, and will support the poverty reduction thrust of the government.
Okay, Alexis Romero, Philstar.
So, Secretary, what does the administration seek to achieve with the modification of the tariffs on e-vehicles?
Well, we want to encourage the adoption, the use of e-vehicles, because that will address pollution issues, and of course, it's our adaptation to climate change, and that's we believe that's the future. But more importantly, we want to be part of the value chain globally in this drive to get to this new industries, new growth drivers, and hopefully we can develop our own industries, and this reduction in tariff is a part of that building up of ecosystem.
Regarding details of the EO lang, no, what was the previous tariff for the e-vehicles, and how long will this modification last?
Various rates, some 5%, 7%, 10%.
Ranges from...
I believe it's about 30% down to 7%, to 5%. Most of it are in that range because, we have done a lot of tariff reduction in the past 2.5 decades, and so our tariff rates are actually already very low, so it's not going to really have much.
So the zero rate will last until...
Well, we will review the effects of this new policy after 1 year, and we'll see how we reconfigure the system by then.
Salamat po.
Alvin Baltasar, Radyo Pilipinas.
Secretary, magandang hapon po. Secretary, hindi po ba malulugi ang pamahalaan natin dito sa gagawing modification doon sa tariff sa mga e-vehicles?
Hindi pa naman kasi we are really reducing the tariffs for those vehicles that are not actually yet locally produced, no? As of now, the quantity, of those vehicles is not that big, but because we want to encourage the adoption of EVs, that will eventually increase the demand for support systems like the chargers, and it can even develop value-adding services for our industry.
Secretary, dagdagan na lang po. Doon sa NEDA board meeting with the President kanina umaga, hindi ba napag-usapan yung pagpa-phase out na tuluyan doon sa mga traditional jeepneys sa atin?
Well, this is hindi naman sa pag-phase out, but eventually as this technology, as these EVs become more popular, and as the prices for these vehicles become more competitive, eventually people will switch to these EVs. Yeah. So as of now, as you may know, the costs are still quite high, but technology is developing rapidly, and this cost, including the batteries, are also already going down.
Okay, Marisa Mali, GMA News.
Hi, sir. Good afternoon. Also, a follow-up on the tariff. Sir, how soon are we expecting this to start? Yung mga tariff reduction nga po.
Yeah. So we have an EO that is going to be signed by the president. That is going to be published. Usually the publication date is about 15 days. Now, once that's published, then it's effective.
All right, so very soon. Sir, aside from the tariffs that you announced, will there be more incentives to those who will be buying EV vehicles? And can you just clarify, I think I heard you mentioned a while ago, except for hybrid type. What does that mean? Kailangan full yung EV at kapag hybrid, hindi ma-i-implement yung tariffs na reduction na yon?
As of now, the hybrid will not be affected by this change in the tariff rates. But as we said, we will review the performance of this reform after 1 year, to see if there is a need to also include the hybrid.
Sir, because as we speak right now, one of the problems are the chargers in different stations. You've mentioned it a while ago already. Right now, there are no available chargers for full EV vehicles. So how are we going to encourage them if we only have reduction of tariffs, but there are no available chargers for full EVs? Parang ang hirap po ata na nakakatakot baka in the middle of your travel, maubusan ka ng baterya at wala kang pagcha-chargean. Paano po kaya yun?
Precisely. It's chicken and egg, right? The objective of this tariff reduction for EVs is to ensure that there are enough EVs around, such that there are incentives for the service providers for the charges to be set up, because those things will not come in unless they see that there is a market, right? So we hope that by opening up the market for more EVs, then these subsidiary auxiliary services will develop rapidly. Of course, we have also lowered the tariff for components and parts, which will include the batteries, and so that will help also the adoption and spread of these EVs.
Sir, maybe you should also consider the hybrid, because right now the market is for the hybrid because, of course, there is the fear that in the middle of the travel nga po, maubusan sila ng electricity. So most of the market is on the hybrid side. Maybe are you also looking into that possibility that reduction of tariff will also be implemented to hybrid EVs?
We have considered that, and the decision is to take stock of the lessons learned of the performance of this reform within 1 year, and then we'll decide whether after 12 months there's a need to include the hybrid.
Okay, Pia Gutierrez, ABS-CBN.
Hi, sir. Sir, with the planned reduction of the tariffs, how much po do we expect the market costs of these EVs to go down?
Well, yeah. So depending on the vehicle, whether scooter or bus or tricycles, it does, but the tariffs, 7%, 5%, 10%, that's what at least the savings I could have from the importation.
So considering na yung nga po nabanggit nyo dun sa issue pa rin sa mga chargers, do you think that yung reduction po ng rates na to would be enough to encourage consumers or more people to switch from the traditional to the EVs?
Maybe not enough, but there are other incentives that, for example, producers of EVs can avail of. For example, you have the CREATE law, we have the DTI and other, particularly the DTI-based agencies providing incentives can also be availed of. That it's true that it's still expensive, but at least this is a step toward achieving that objective of enhancing the ecosystem for more EVs in the country.
Okay, last question. Chona Yu, Radyo Inquirer.
Sir, good afternoon. Sir, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Sir, ito bang reduction of tariff, is this a government solution to address yung sunod-sunod na oil price increase?
That this will certainly help, but I think it's also a longer perspective, because the world's changing, as you know. We are moving. The world's moving to this more environment clean systems of transportation, production, and I think this is a way for us to be part of that of the change and not be left out in that ecosystem.
Okay, maraming salamat po, Anita Secretary Arsenio Balisacan. Maraming salamat po, OPS, OIC, Undersecretary Shirley Villicaraga.